spent a month in Israel this summer, from the end of June to the end of July, studying at the Shalom Hartman Institute as I working on my smicha so I can finally change my title to just be rabbi and make it a lot easier when I introduce myself. And it was a real gift. And I got to spend, time traveling the country, a bit with some visiting family, but especially just spending time learning. And learning in Israel at this time was really special. And every year at the Shalom Hartman Institute, about 300 rabbis, and also lay leaders, but 300 rabbis show up to learn, basically to prepare for their high holiday sermons, but also to get a shot of inspiration as they lead their communities. One of the rabbis that was there with me this summer, her name is Rabbi Sharon Brous. And she is this superstar, powerhouse rabbi out of LA right now. I think her TED Talks on saving religion has 1 million views or something like that. And I also had the opportunity this summer to read her book, which is called The Amen Effect. It just came out this year. You just put your hands up if you've read it. Some of you, only a few. You should read it, by the way. But it does make my, Dvar Torah a little bit sweeter that you don't all know what I'm about to say. So that's good. But then after Rosh Hashanah, go order it. The book is called The Amen Effect, Ancient Wisdom to Mend Our Broken Hearts and World. Something that we need right now. And in it, she refers to a Mishnah, a rabbinic piece of writing, which actually I had never seen before. An ancient ritual practice that would happen every single time our ancestors would make their way to the holy city, to the Beit HaMikdash, to the temple, and go visit. Right? We had this practice of going there Shalosh Regalim 3 times a year for Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And there was actually, not sure you could believe this, but there was actually rules and choreography around how people were supposed to act. And one of the rules was that when you went into the temple courtyard, you would walk in from the right, turn right, and go counterclockwise around the entire courtyard and make your way out. So you have to imagine this was the main meeting place of the Jewish people. 3 times a year, they would come together, Yached Levavam, to unite their hearts, to pray together, and to literally be seen. The Torah says, Yera'eh, Shalosh Pamim Bashna Yera'eh, 3 times a year, you would be seen. Someone said to me earlier today, who I met for the first time, was like, do you come often? And he said, well, I'm a 3 times a year Jew. That's biblical, people. So if you come to shul 3 times a day, you're doing exactly what our ancestors did. We'd like to see you more. There's a little Jewish grandmother living in my head who's allowed to offer guilt and also allowed to ask people, when are you getting married and things like that. And so I'll throw it all at you at once. But the rule was that they had to veer to the right and circle that way. Kol hanichnasin lahar habayit nichnasin derech yamin umakifin v'yotzin derech smol. Go in to the right, circle, and come out through the left. But there is an exception, the Mishnah says. Chutz mimi she'irao davar shehu makif lismol. But there's one group that would actually come in from the left side and go clockwise and come out through the right. And who is this group? These are people who something bad happened to them since the last time they were at the temple. Anyone who's had a bad year, whose heart is broken. Literally the words here, shira'o davar, that something bad happened, something ra. They go the other way. So I want to ask you just to think for yourself for a moment. If you were going into the temple this year, which way would you go? Do you still feel you can go in through the right? Or would you need to go in through the left? And I know that when I ask that question, top of mind for a lot of us is Israel, what's going on in this moment, soldiers scattered between different countries, our loved ones who, an entire country in bomb shelters this week, innocent civilians all over the place. But I also know that there's all different kinds of brokenness. And when we add our brokenness to our brokenness, it's really hard to stand up and to go anywhere. And here's my favorite part of this. That when those who feel wholehearted and go to the right, and those who are coming from the left side encounter one another, the one who is feeling wholehearted says to the other, Ma lach. What is troubling you? What is going on for you in this moment that makes you go counterstream to everybody else? And they look them in the eyes as they ask the question. And then, based on the trouble that is uttered, they give them a bracha, they give them a blessing. And the blessing changes based on the need of the person. If somebody says, according to the Mishnah, that I am in mourning, then the response is, may the one who dwells in this house offer you comfort in this moment. I just love this. So we have a ritual that says, look the other person in the eye, ask them, Malach, what is happening for you? And bless them. We can't fix it, but we can offer some blessing that says, I hear you, I see you, and I care enough to just stop for a moment and see you. These same words of Malach are what I asked you to focus on while I read the Torah. The angel sees Hagar having completely given up on her son and on his life. She is so broken, full of despair, that she leaves him alone because, as the Torah says, she can't bear to watch him die. The angel approaches her and says, Malach Hagar, I see you and I know you are in pain. What troubles you? And then the angel blesses her and says, open up your eyes. There is bracha, there is blessing, there's actually water over there. Things will get better. And it's not lost on me that when the Torah teaches us this lesson, it teaches us the lesson through Hagar and Ishmael, the people who are othered, who are cast off in this story. The ones who, for many of us, we see them as enemies and not worthy of our bracha, and yet the Torah tells us otherwise. I said at the beginning of our service that our theme this year is Am Echad Lev Echad, one people with one heart. And I think there's been moments this year where we have really felt united as a Jewish people, and many moments where we have not. The source of these words of Am Echad Lev Echad actually come from when we were at the foot of Mount Sinai. as the entire Jewish people, having just left Egypt, are gathered together. And the Torah says there, Vayichan sham ha'am neged ahar, that we encamped at the foot of the mountain. But what is surprising about these words, especially if you know Hebrew well, Vayichan is written in the singular, and it should be written in the plural, that they encamped. Instead, it says that he, or this person, encamped at the foot of the mountain. Rashi, the medieval commentator, brings this famous midrash that says, many people know this one, that the midrash says that at that moment, the entire Jewish people were ish echad belev echad, were like one person with one body sharing one heart. And it's a beautiful thought. Except the midrash continues and says that this was the only moment in which the Jewish people were united and felt like their hearts were united. In every other place that they encamped, there was arguing, and there was strife, and there was disagreement. And that too apparently is a part of who we are as a Jewish people. Right? We know the name Yisrael means Kisaritam Elohim Vadam Batuchal, that you wrestle both with God and with other human beings and with yourselves. Right? Peace is something we work towards, we strive towards. Yached, Levavenu, Lahava, to unite our hearts with love, is not a given, but it is a constant act. And one way we do it is when we turn to each other, even if we don't really know that person, and when we say, Malach, what is going on for you? One of the other people who's not officially a rabbi, but has really been a rabbi and a model and a teacher for my wife Ryla and I, and for, I think, really for all of us this year, a model of humanity and motherhood and grace and activism, is a woman named Rachel Goldberg Poland, who buried her son Hirsch just over 30 days ago. We marked the Shloshim this week. And I got to hear from her also, and to meet her husband a few times this summer. And in her eulogy for her beloved son Hirsch, she shared the following words. If you haven't watched this, you need to watch it. I just want to share a short excerpt. And I want to say now the sincerest and most heartfelt thank you to the countless people in our extended community who have held us, cared for us, prayed for us, cooked for us, and carried us when we could not stand up. I'm so thankful to you, and I apologize deeply, but we will need continued help to get through this sickening new chapter 2 as we move from hope to bereavement. I am so sorry to ask, because we have given you nothing and you have already given so profoundly and completely. But I beg of you all, please don't leave us now. Rachel, after everything that she has gone through, even in her words to her son, in the eulogy, managed to teach us again, as she continues to do, that when people turn to you and say, Malach, what's going on? What do you need? She even knows how to answer that question. Because it's not easy to turn to somebody and say, this is what I need. This is the way in which my heart is broken. It is actually so hard to do, but it's the most human thing to do, because that's actually how we do this thing of Yached, Levavenu, Lahava. It's how we build community. It's how we build worlds of peace. Is actually when we can do that, both to ask the question and to answer it. And it becomes our job, as so many people did for Rachel and for John this year. It is our job to listen fully, not necessarily to try to fix, but just to be a witness and to find some small way to fulfill the request, if there is one. Josh Fiegelson shared in his podcast this week, Soulful Jewish Living, that as we know, there are 3 different kinds of shofar blasts. There's the tekiyah, the whole one. There's the shvarim, which is the broken one, the 3 calls, the 3 blasts that represents our brokenness, and the tru'ah, 9 individual blasts that represents just our wailing, our inability to hold it in anymore, to just let it out. Friends, we're living in a moment when it is so easy to feel our pain and to become more insular, more self-focused, to sink only into what hurts us, which often leads to denying the experience and the hurt of others. And this moment demands more of us. We have to feel our pain and be open and honest about it, but also be able to turn to others and say, Malach, what is going on for you? So we're going to blow the shofar now. And just before we do, I want to ask you all to just please rise up in the way that you're able to. And I want you to just take a moment to just, again, think for yourself. And I'm asking you this question, Malach, what is the pain, what is the brokenness for you right now?